I was an accident. No, don't tell me I wasn't. It's okay, I am, and I've accepted it. I'm actually the product of a kind of one-night stand. But it also made me a type A personality. It means that I thrived in high school. I was the vice president of my class. I was in the top 10%, editor-in-chief of the yearbook. I did everything right. It was structured and perfect, just how I liked it, to avoid any more accidents. And I knew because I did everything by the book, I was gonna get into all the colleges I wanted. It was perfect. I was gonna get my college movie-like experience. I waited and waited, and the big day finally came. February 17th, Florida State Decision Day. And I'm so excited. I opened my letter, and obviously I got accepted. Waitlisted. I got waitlisted. This has to be an accident, right? But I'm not gonna let me be an accident or this accident define me, right? It's fine. I actually ended up getting into all the other schools I applied to, thankfully, and I ended up liking a few a lot more. So I venture off on this exciting new journey called college. It was everything I ever dreamed of, except it wasn't. I hated it. Oh my God, I wanted to drop out my first semester. I was miserable. I had actually just been discriminated against for the first time in my life. It made no sense to me. I'm from Miami. Everybody looks like me. Everybody talks like me. I never thought this would be a problem. I was only going 4 hours north. But it actually happens a lot more than you would think. So Hispanics from the Caribbean, like myself, from low economic backgrounds, actually have a much higher dropout rates in college and in high school. I had spent my whole life trying to make sure I wasn't defined by another statistic. But that was it. I had made my choice. I was dropping out. I hated it. I actually made a new plan. It was foolproof. Finish the semester alive. Nothing was going to stop me. And it was so great until the first day of the spring semester. It was Bulls Market, and the whole campus was covered in tables and tents from departments and student organizations trying to get my attention. And this one lady did. She was actually the director of the political science program, the program I was in. So I meet her, and she introduces herself, and she actually notices that I'm in her 115 class. And I'm like, yeah, I am, but it doesn't matter. I'm miserable here. I'm leaving. This was all an accident. And she looks at me, and she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she was like, Alexa, you worked so hard to get here. Why are you not taking every opportunity available? And I was like, what? And she goes, embrace this university. Trust me for 1 year. I was like, 1 year, girl, I'm trying to finish this semester. But I did. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I quit my job the next day. And I ended up studying under her. And within a few months, she had actually asked me to present research with her. And then I got a call from the White House, every political science student's wet dream. I got to meet the President of the United States, and I got to speak with him and have a conversation. I then got a call from the United Nations headquarters. I got to meet students from around the world who were just like me. And I thought, wow, this is the highlight of my college experience. I had made it. And it's all because I said yes to a person I met on the first day. I felt like a princess. And I'm scrolling through social media like any teenager would. And I actually see that I'm not the first person to adapt this new mindset, embracing when it's uncomfortable. It was actually a trend on TikTok called Do It for the Plot, where Gen Z students would just do things to see what would happen. And we saw that when you take risk, that's how you reach your climax. Stories and movies all have a climax, but without taking risk and sacrifice, you would never get there. So I had to let my life unfold and write the lines that would one day write a movie that would be an Oscar-worthy film. Because right now, I was stuck in a badly produced movie about a girl who had just gotten out of rehab for an eating disorder, got diagnosed with a chronic illness her first semester at college, and was gonna drop out. But this new girl just accepted the new role in her sequel to be the adventurous, thrilling protagonist who makes her comeback story. One of my favorite moments doing it for the plot was when I was in the student offices, and there were so many people around me from different cultures. They were working with and around me. They said to me one day, hey, Alexa, do you want to watch a parade for a holiday I celebrate back home? I'm like, yeah, of course. I love learning about new things, duh. That's why I'm in college. And I thought this was going to be like the Thanksgiving Day parade. We throw on ABC, make some popcorn, and just watch. And then they let me know, hey, we're leaving in a few minutes. I'm like, leaving? Where are we going? They're like, to the parade. I was like, what? I had already accepted my fate. I had to go. I was going to a festival for a holiday I knew nothing about, in a language I did not speak, for a culture I did not really embrace myself in. But I said yes, and I went. So I get there, and there's fire, screaming, people running around, chaos. And where I'm from, I run away from that. But I was being instructed to embrace this chaos and run towards it. And I even was told to take my shoes off outside. That's a big deal to me. Where I'm from culturally, I would be getting insults, being called dirty and gross. My grandmother would have killed me. She would have called me pata sucia, which means dirty foot is the direct translation in English. But I was like, what do I do? I was like, I'm going to do it for the plot. I took my shoes off, and I run into this festival, and I saw dances for the first time. I heard songs I had never heard. I ate food I had never tried. It was amazing. I lived, and I laughed, and I loved every single moment. And they came up to me, my friends, and said, you were the first person to ever come to an event for our culture. I had never seen this side of them because I never did anything that was outside of the norm for me. And this made me realize that this one silly little TikTok trend changed our friendship forever. This made me realize that though you may not be able to change the world in a day, you can change your own world starting today. And even if your story right now isn't going to get nominated for an Oscar Best Picture, you can accept your sequel for your comeback story. And if it doesn't work out, rejection is redirection. Me speaking to you right now is not an accident. I actually don't believe there are any accidents for the most part. I wasn't an accident. But next time, just say yes. Or as Gen Z might tell you, come on, just do it for the plot.